while we're all sitting down here, I'm going to make one or two quick introductory remarks before I introduce the speakers on our panel. Let me start by saying I'm not sure that the name of this panel is right, because I'm not sure the coalition is all that unexpected. Or maybe I should say that the coalition is unexpected, but it should be expected. And that hopefully one of the cumulative results in this series of conferences is to make it more expected. So that's comment number one. Now, comment number two, if Martha goes out of the room, I'll have to wait till she comes back. Comment number two is that when I see the image of the switchboard, what I think of is Lily Tomlin.
In the movie
and
9 to 5.
There could not be a more apt metaphor in some very special ways for this conference. So every time I see that image, I go, ah, Lily Tomlin, yes. And so the third aside that I'm going to make, and I'm really sorry that Serena just left, is I have a memory, and I have to say it's a partial memory. It's a visual take, but I'm not positive of place and time. So my memory is of marching in New York City, which in the late 60s, early 70s, we were doing all the time. And I remember marching with Pauli Murray. But I am not sure which march it was. I think that it was the march in late 1969 or early 1970 for abortion rights that ultimately led to the passage of the New York State abortion legislation, which preceded Roe versus Wade and really helped to snowball abortion rights into being in the United States. But I also remember, and again, I'm not positive, but think this was a conversation with Pauli Murray, whom I remember well enough so that years later when they had this stuff about her becoming a minister, a reverend, an Episcopal minister, I went, oh, I remember her from marching with her, oh, these many years ago. I remember a conversation about some efforts within this very broad marching coalition, we are still here, to throw out the lesbian feminists who were in the group that was a totally pan-feminist. It was multiracial, it was multi-ethnic, it was multi-class, but to exclude the lesbian feminists because they might damage the movement in the eyes of, you know, the party politics or whatever. So that's my little vignette about expected coalitions or unexpected coalitions. So having said that, let me turn very briefly to introduce the members of this panel. We are really lucky, despite the fact that we lost Maryland State Delegate Mary Washington, to be blessed with a fabulous group of presenters. And we're not going to go in the order on the program, so we'll tell you the order that they're going to present in. First, we have two speakers from Casa de Maryland, Antonia Pena and Sheena, did I do that right? Woodhowen. Woodhowen.
I accept a range.
Well, I understand, yes. Marley gets butchered all the time, too. So they're going to speak first, and they're going to speak about their own experiences and their work in building the coalition that passed the DREAM Act, treating immigrants in the state of Maryland like state residents for purposes of tuition for state institutions of higher education. And also they're going to speak about their coalition work for marriage equality, which was a brilliant, in my opinion, combination engendered by Casa of Maryland, for which I'm personally deeply grateful. And also they're going to speak about the work of organizing domestic workers and the experiences of domestic workers. And next we're going to have Lane Levine, who is going to talk about the Jews for Racial and Economic Justice work he was involved in New York City and New York State in pushing forward the Domestic Workers' Bill of Rights, which I think I'm right that New York State's the only state that has adopted this so far, right? And let me say, besides this hopefully being a movement across the United States, it's also a global movement. The ILO, the International Labor Organization, adopted a convention that establishes a framework for a basic Bill of Rights for domestic workers that hopefully many countries will follow. around the world. And the third speaker will be the Reverend Diane Teichert. Did I butcher your name or do it right?
Teichert.
Teichert. Teichert, who's with the Paint Branch Unitarian Universalist Church in Adelphi, Maryland, and she is going to talk about the church and religious coalition role in connection with the passage of marriage equality here in Maryland. And finally, Janie Chuang, who teaches at American University Washington College of Law, is going to help us tie these things together, talking about her research and work and also personal experiences working with domestic workers and matters of migration status and matters of fair treatment of domestic workers. So with that, let me turn it over to Sheena and Antonia. Permítame presentarles mis dos amigas nuevas de Casa de Maryland.
Gracias.